to the show, Ann.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Is there anything you like about Obama?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Like what?
He was totally playing the Daily Cause kids for fools on national security. He's basically continued Bush's terrorism policies. Guantanamo is not getting shut down. We're not pulling out of Iraq. In fact, he's increasing the war in Iraq. He's continuing the renditions. I think either he knew this all along, or he got the national security briefings and said, I can't let the New York Times run national security. That's too dangerous. So I had high hopes for him the first few weeks, though the stimulus bill sort of dashed those.
So you would like him to continue torturing people? Is that what you're telling me?
We don't torture people, Joy.
We don't? That's not what I heard.
No, though, if they're really bad, I know.
If they're really bad, we torture them.
I was going to say they'd start showing them old issues, old views.
The View. Oh, yeah, you've been on the show. Did you feel we ganged up on you last time?
No, it was a lot of fun. It was like the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants.
Yeah.
I'm expecting cards and letters from all of you.
Listen, you sold a lot of books that day. The View sells a lot of books. So what do you care if we ganged up on you?
I didn't say you ganged up on you. You did.
Well, you sort of acted like we did.
No, I said it was a joyful occasion.
People felt that you were pissed when you left. I'm just saying. Okay, so what do you think about this stimulus bill? Do you think that...
I think it's a disaster.
You think it's a disaster?
It's the Reward Failure Act of 2009. I mean, it's not that I like the title, and so did most Americans. Support for it went from about 80% when people only knew the title to about 37% as people would find out more and more about it. It's stimulative of big, huge government programs. It rewards failure, and who's going to be left holding the bag? The middle class of America.
Yeah, but, you know, your party has done nothing in the past 8 years to fix any of this. They ran up the deficit.
Well, it only started last fall.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, the whole economic crisis started last fall, where I promise you McCain wouldn't have been our nominee. Nobody was talking about this until the fall of last year. The economy was fine.
Nobody seemed to have any foresight at all.
No, everybody knew. It was exactly like the dot-com boom.
Well, then why didn't the
Republicans
they were making
do money.
Something? They were in power.
Well, everybody. Why wasn't everyone doing something? People knew it was coming the same way people knew that, you know, Pets.com 10 years earlier wasn't worth more than GM and GE and IBM combined. People knew that these internet stocks weren't worth as much as people were paying for them. People knew that these subprime mortgages weren't, the housing couldn't keep going up forever. But as long as you're making money, it continues. It happens with all sorts of things.
But the Republican Party has now basically turned its back on this, except for three people: Olympia Snowe, and Susan Collins, and Arlen Specter, right? So those are the only three Republicans who say, okay, we're gonna try and do something. What have the Republicans come up with? They have no plan.
Okay, first of all, there's no clear evidence that those three, Collins, Snowe, and Specter, are Republicans, or I would demand that Michael Steele cut them out.
You're just saying that because they don't agree with you.
No. Look, I mean, when you get every Republican in the House plus 14 and then 9 Democrats voting against this bill, that's where the bipartisanship is, against the creeping. It's not creeping socialism; it's galloping socialism. It's theft. It's immoral. It's shocking. The stimulus bill. I'm not exaggerating. And the only hope is that Republicans will come zooming back in 2 years and it won't go into effect because this is a disaster. And by the way, people who think that just because their taxes aren't going up right now, okay, you know, maybe I won't benefit from the stimulus bill, but I won't be hurt. You will be hurt. You will be hurt.
Let me ask
everything you've made until now would be worth half as much.
All right. Would you rather that it fail so that the Republicans can be back in power in 2010 rather than try to do something for the American people?
No, it has nothing to do with being back in power.
Answer the question.
No, I've answered.
Would you? Well, let's say
it has nothing to do with Republicans being in power.
What if it does really great? How do you know? You don't know that.
Because massive socialism has never worked. I mean, Argentina tried. Japan tried it. They have higher IQs than we do. You can't borrow $1 trillion. We don't have $1 trillion. You know what that means, Joy? That means you either are in hock to China, and there is definitely massive inflation because you start printing money. That means any dollar you have today will be worth 50 cents in a few years.
But who are we indebted to for the Iraq War, for example, where we spent $1 trillion also?
Look,
and Bush and his people brought the deficit up incredibly. So who are we in debt to for that?
Yeah, and the deficit's very bad, and Republicans have been the ones talking about it for years. I think it was Bob Dole who said, let them run on the deficit. We've been running on it for 30 years. Americans don't care. Each president, because of the spending of the government, each president has a bigger deficit than the last one. You know what the entire deficit...
Take a breath.
The entire deficit under George Bush that you're so worried about is $400 billion. This stimulus bill is nearly $1 trillion.
Well, that's not true. First of all, everybody knows, and I'm not a political person exactly, but everybody knows at this point that George Bush got a great surplus when he came into office, and he squandered it. Everyone knows that.
It was a surplus on paper.
Oh, I see. Okay. Now, are you frightened or gleeful that Rush Limbaugh seems to be the head of your party these days?
Oh, I think it's fantastic.
Really?
Yeah, I'd rather have somebody, I mean, I hope, well, actually, we do have a lot, not that I'd rather have some, but I would like more Republicans running for office who can talk like Rush Limbaugh
You consider Rush Limbaugh a Republican? I consider him an extreme right-winger. I don't consider him a Republican.
An extreme right-winger with 20 million listeners.
Well, you know, that doesn't mean anything to me.
Well,
that he has 20 million listeners. That doesn't mean that 20 million people are agreeing with him, you know. It means that they're listening.
I think
a lot of people are very masochistic, and they'll listen to Rush Limbaugh.
You're saying that his 20 million listeners hate him and disagree with him?
No, not all, but not everybody agrees with him.
If you're describing someone as extreme, I think it can't be someone who is massively popular with the American people. I mean, that's dead down the center.
Okay. All right, let me ask you something else. Now,
do you listen to Rush, by the way?
I used to work with him. I was on the same station. No.
Well, okay. How can you describe him as extreme? We could interview one of the 20 million people who listen to him every day.
But I'm not that into somebody who filibusters like that. I like a conversation.
Listen to him. How do you know he filibusters?
Because I worked with him for 3 years, and I know what he does.
I used to work with him.
In the early 90s, I had a radio show on WABC Radio.
Okay, so from 20 years ago, you have decided you know that he is an extremist.
I see him all the time.
When he has 20 million listeners.
I know his routine. I know his
More than anyone on TV. More than Oprah. Do you think everybody watching Oprah hates her? They're just watching it out of Schadenfreude? Would you ask Oprah?
Okay, you know,
do people hate you?
Do people hate you? I'd like to ask you that.
No.
Do you think that people hate you?
No. Not when I have 7 New York Times bestsellers. No, I'm very popular.
But you can't have everybody love you. Not everybody loves you, Anne. People think
you asked me if people hated me.
I know, but you say
suddenly
you're saying
no, they don't hate me.
Because you sell, but you say because you sell books that makes you think that people love you.
No, I said that indicates to me that they do not hate me, which was the question, Joy.
Okay, has Anne ever dated a liberal? You'll find out if you stay with us. Have you? We'll find out later. Don't tell me now.
Security number with which to claim the tax credit as long as their child has one. The House version is stricter and does important things, but nonetheless, it is still a tax credit, requiring the taxpayer, though, to provide their own Social Security number in order to be able to claim the refundable portion of the credit. Joining me tonight, political commentator, best-selling author, syndicated columnist, and legendary icon. Good to have you with us. It is, and it's absolutely true. You have been fighting the left in this country for quite a long time now, and with immeasurable success. Obviously, President Trump helped a bit in 2016.
Yes, he did.
Could you have possibly imagined that the president would have achieved what he has in terms of the economy, markets, and rolling back regulation, setting a whole new tone for this country?
What I didn't realize was how real the swamp is. I mean, he is really being opposed by all of official Washington, D.C., which is why it's unfortunate that so many of his appointees are part of the swamp, because they're fighting him. And the media, I hated before. Wow, do I hate them now, until they are utterly discredited.
By the way, look into the camera, because watching you right now are tons of Americans who see it exactly that way. The left-wing media is driving the support of this president, I think, in large measure.
Oh, I totally agree.
He is standing up despite, as you say, being attacked, assailed every day from every quarter.
viciously
Republican
with lies.
I'm sorry?
Viciously with lies. I mean, he's absolutely right on the fake news. I mean, the funny thing, I'm obviously a little testy with him because we don't have our wall yet. But then the media attacks him and they bring me back to defending him.
Right.
You know, I'm like a sitting duck. You could get me to attack him. I'm mad that we don't have a wall. But no, every day it's some outrageously unfair attack and they bring me back in.
Well, you have to be, and by the way, I want the wall. I want the wall now. I wanted it actually 6 months ago. Though that may not be realistic, but having the wall next year is definitely realistic. And secondly, you have to credit the Trump administration for having the lowest, I was about to say immigration rate, crossover rate of that border in recent memory.
Right. I mean, what concerns me about that is, I mean, this is why I supported him. I think that he's still living off the rhetoric of the campaign. And that was an important campaign.
That's not fair. I mean, we're talking about substantial, concrete, highly specific achievements. And I just enumerated just some of them.
The fact that fewer illegal immigrants are trying to cross in that is a result of his rhetoric. It is not because we have a wall. He is allowing ICE to do their job. But all of the things that we like that's happening, it goes away like that with the next president. Only a wall is forever. That's that's what people were chanting.
Did I just hear you hold him not only accountable for his campaign promises to the American people, but for the next 3 or 4 presidents, say, as well?
Oh, for the next millennium.
Yeah, well, I think he's making a pretty good run at it because he has reversed the course under, you may remember Barack Obama. We were looking into the abyss of that man's leadership.
No, I think that's part of the reason for the hysteria from the left, from the media, from the deep state, from the swamp. Yeah. They were just about to tip the country. They almost had it.
That's why do you
4
think
more years of illegal immigrants and legal immigrants, and the entire country would be the state of California. They could taste it. They were so close. Republicans would be gone, gone, gone. So we really need Trump. I mean, if he wants to...
I'm glad to hear you moving at least in this direction, because...
What direction?
The direction of recognizing that there is no possibility whatsoever that we could have survived another, well, a Hillary Clinton.
But the same is true if Trump doesn't keep his promises.
And that we would not have been able to defeat Hillary Clinton
with anyone but Trump.
That's
no, that's absolutely true. No, I have no regret for...
And by the way, did you notice
but he's got to fulfill his promises.
Growing about.
You know... Okay, I want to talk to you about that. You better stop bragging about that because the stock market is going to crash and it's not going to be his fault.
The stock market is going to what?